And I'm joined by Mr. CJ Wilder. How you keeping, CJ, man?
I'm good. I'm relatively healthy. I'm actually about to start a big kind of well, I see I don't drink or do drugs. Occasionally I might have a beer, but one beer with a meal or something. But I'm about to go on another health kick quite soon. But routinely throughout the year I kind of service my body.
Nice.
Yes, and I find it's kind of good rather than I have friends who are just they're ridiculously healthy all the time, and I think they deny themselves certain pleasures,
Yeah, it's not
you
good.
know. Yeah, and I think it's really important that there's certain things, as long as you're not hurting yourself too much or hurting other people, you can't deny yourself certain, things that bring you a lot of enjoyment. And there's a lot of types of food which are very bad for you, but occasionally you might need a bacon sandwich or have a donut or something, because it's like, but you've got whatever you take out, you got to put back in. So.
Exactly. Well, me and my wife every now and then we'll go, strict vegan for 2 months or whatever, which is well we're just. And I'm like you. I love being in the kitchen. So to me, I treat getting a vegan cookbook as I do any other cuisine cookbook. That's what I want to eat out of for the next 3-4 weeks while I find you.
It's good. Yeah, it's a good way. It's a good way of living. And I like to try everything as well. So I'm not one of those. My girlfriend's been vegetarian since she was about like 10,
Oh,
and sometimes I mean you get some amazing vegetarian food now. And she used to work in an incredible restaurant in Brighton. It's like the best vegetarian food I've ever had. But you are kind of limited when you're cutting yourself off to half the different types of food in the world. But I must admit I don't eat as much meat as I used to. So
man.
I have no idea why this has gone all culinary
I
now.
don't know,
Yeah,
man.
it's
Don't know why.
it's great.
Well, getting back on with the music side of things, the last time we spoke was around the Kicks tour that you did. The Sorry, the Kicks live album coming out was last time, and at the time you were teasing, that Split was on its way,
Hmm.
and you mentioned that Split was on its way, and at the time when we first spoke about it, it was very much you were going to do half pop punk songs, half hardcore punk songs, and you've been kind enough to send the album Trust, man, and it seems like somewhere along the line, every song on this album is somewhere on the Richter scale between the two, somewhere on that sliding rule rather than it being a pop punk song or a hard punk song. When did that kind of evolve and merge in the process, man?
Um, a lot of it uh, was due to the way I had to make this album. As you know, I was in temporary accommodation for 11 weeks, and that was smack bang in the middle of recording this album. And so I was forced, my hand was forced. I had to write the second half of the album in about a week. And I normally, it takes me a month or so to write an album. So this is the quickest album I've ever written. And I had to record a lot of the music. Uh, like before I left this place because I couldn't record. I couldn't do vocals at my temporary accommodation. I couldn't sing there. This place was stripped bare, and the only room which was available was my son's room, which was floor to ceiling full of our possessions, stuff we couldn't get into, the lockup. And it was just it was a really disjointed recording process, and so whatever I'd written made it onto the album. There wasn't much time for pre-production or for like letting the songs kind of develop, but I think it's paid off. The fact that it's been so instant, straight from the heart. I
Mm.
think this album's got a vibe which none of my other albums have had. You
Yeah, I mean,
know.
it's got a ton of energy on it, this record. Like we were chatting like online and stuff about it, saying, I found it a really good gym record for want of a better term on a record, every album past much and it's just high energy all the way through. Do you think because
Mm.
you had that urgency about it in the writing that's fed into the songs?
Yes, I mean there's a rejuvenation or a rejuvenating quality to this album. And for me, I turn 56 next month, and I'm not a kid anymore. I'm not a young man. I am knee deep or probably neck deep in middle age, and it's to have an album that's, has energy, has life, has passion and heart in it at my stage. At this stage of my career, it's rejuvenating for me. It makes me feel young, and if for me, if music can, you know, tap into some sort of, uh, you know, it, when I put this album on, it makes me want to get up and have a good time, you know, rather than, you know, it doesn't reinforce the back pain I'm feeling right now. It makes me want to forget about that and jump around the room. Yeah, and that's for me, that's a good album. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it kicks off literally with Kick Down the Walls, which is a fucking brilliant opener. It's probably one of my favorite songs on the album, actually. And just like you say, it definitely has that punk rock, new full way of like kind of youth energy about it. Where did that song in particular come from when you were writing, man?
So I mean, Kick Down the Walls is my favorite as well. The songs about the very early days of the Wildhearts when it was really good, and any band, you know, I'm not. I mean, some bands just don't have that kind of gang mentality, but we were like a gang, and there was a real camaraderie, and it was way before the rot set in, you know, and that group thing, it's great. You feel invincible, you know, someone's got your back all the time, and you know it's whenever, you know, bands, musicians, artists tend to be misfits, tend to be like outside of normal society, and you know, it's really good having people like-minded people with you. You're in a group together, you're on stage together, you travel together, you know, it's great. And then people who come and see you are the same, and it's all about family and just, yeah, misfits, belonging.
That's all, man. I mean, like I said, I was just looking at I was listening to the album again just before we spoke up, and all the way through, it just doesn't seem to let up. I mean, I, I know you haven't done any live shows since the tour that you did with Scott and Richie with Grand Theft Audio, obviously. But I mean, are there any songs that instantly make you want to go out and do shows, and ones that you'd be wanting to play live?
Yes, definitely. I mean, there's this album. I mean, at least 50% of it I'm going to be playing live. We're talking about doing shows now for like probably April time.
Nice.
You know, to kind of tour this album. Only a little tour, you know. I'm not a big artist, but it'll be a handful of shows, and hopefully September as well, and maybe some festivals. But I definitely want to go. I don't enjoy doing smaller shows. I wouldn't lie to you and say it's great doing smaller shows because you know, you're closer to, you know, the audience stuff. I like big shows. I like what big shows entail, having the tour bus, having the full crew, nice backstage area. I like a big stage to run around on. But saying that, I have a really good solo band, and they have a really healthy heart, and I need to go out and play some shows. It's what got me into music. It's the only reason why I wanted to be in a band, was to play live. It wasn't to make albums or write songs. It was to be on stage and play live. And I it's a band thing as well. I don't want to. I couldn't go out and just go out and give an acoustic guitar and go out and do those type of shows. That isn't what I'm about. You know, I need it loud. I need it really punk. I need it in your face. So yeah, hopefully April. Yeah, fingers crossed.
Nice one, man. I mean, like you say there, you said it on other interviews before as well. Like you've always been more of a live guy than you have been going to work in the studio, like you say. And obviously, you know, in the last, well, since Siege, like so, like last sort of 3 years, you've had Siege, you've had Kicks, you now got
Yeah.
obviously focusing more on the studio side of things. So have you found that as a transitional kind of thing from someone who's used to doing, you know, being out on tour more with when, you know, before the Wild Hearts disbanded and stuff?
I really miss touring. I mean, I said in an interview, you know, a week or so ago, that if a band offered me a position, you know, to go out and play, and you know, I would join that band tomorrow if it's, you know, if it's the right band, and they're
Yeah.
doing the right shows. I would be off on tour tomorrow. It's what, you know, it's what got me into music. It's what I ultimately, it's what I've always wanted to do, is be on stage. And you know, circumstances have dictated that I spend more time at home now than I do touring.
Hmm.
And it causes me a lot of frustration, but saying that, I'm still making music. I'm still kind of dealing on my own terms as well, which is really good. And you know, I still don't need a job at the moment. Fingers crossed. You know, I'm about to start recording the next album. I have to. You know, it's I can't sit at home, you know, doing nothing. It's so, and I'm not touring at the moment, so I'm gonna start writing and recording again imminently.
All right. You
Hmm.
planning on doing like the same sort of process again? Because that seems to, you know, seems to work on your last couple of records.
Yeah, I won't work with a band. It'll be me working on my own in my own studio. I'll use Jason Bold again for the live drum parts, and I'll mix it with Dave Draper. Again, I'm a creature of habit. If I have people who are really good, I don't see the point of changing them. And one of the reasons why I'm a creature of habit is because I've been in a band which is the most disjointed, dysfunctional, you know, messed up band. The Wildhearts are like, there's nothing organized about the band. It's a complete drama, completely dysfunctional. We have had more members, more managers, more labels. It's crazy. And I see bands like a band like Wolfsbane, same lineup forever. They're brothers.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's wonderful to see something and to see bands like Massive Wagons. They played a game, they knuckled down, and it's like with the Wild Arts, started it 34 years ago. Me and Ginger started that band, and it just has been like EastEnders for the whole 34 years. And I can't do EastEnders anymore. I want to be in Friends, you know. I don't want to be in EastEnders. I might sound a bit like Phil Mitchell, but I want to be in Friends. Yeah.
You think, obviously, like you're saying that with the band, I mean, I was chatting to because the Sinners were playing at my festival there this year, and I was chatting to Ben Marsden, and obviously he was playing in your band when I saw you guys up in Norwich when I came to the show, and we were chatting about stuff, and he was saying how much he enjoyed that tour. I was chatting to Rob on the night as well. They seemed to. Do you think that was? There did seem to be a real camaraderie between not only like the guys in your band, but between obviously Scott Sorry and Grand Theft Audio and everyone else. It just seemed to be a real gang mentality.
Oh, I mean that tour. It's you know if I was going to count, the five best tours I've ever done over the last, 36 odd years, that will be in my top five for sure. I mean, it was just insanely good, but no drama, no trouble. Myself, Richie, and Scott are very close. We always have been. I've never fallen out with like either of them, and I've always been really good friends with Richie. He lives up the road, and we routinely talk to each other and try and see each other every now and again. And so it was a no-brainer, and it was really nice. I thought it was a good one for Wild Heart fans as well, to kind of see another side of the Wild Hearts, which is, myself, Richie, and Scott. I mean, I know Ginger's the main songwriter and he's a singer, but there's a lot more to the Wild Hearts than just him. And there's a DNA to the Wild Hearts. There's a structure to the band. And I know Ginger's trying to relaunch the band with different people, but there is the Wild Hearts are a band. They have a formula, and each person is really integral to the sound, the look, so it's an odd one. But I bear him no ill will, and if he wants to keep the name alive, he's welcome to. But for myself, it's my life has been relatively drama free for the last 2 years, apart from my flat flooding, being hacked and stuff like that. That shit's all right, man. It's just normal everyday shit. But touring and most artists, most of them are quite high maintenance, and they're quite passionate people. And sometimes, those passions are that it can just you can rub each other up the wrong way. And it comes a point in everyone's life where you just don't want the drama, you don't want the trouble anymore, and you just got to like say enough's enough. And there's other things in my life which are much more important to me than music, than any band out there. It's thank God I've got those things in my life.
They're important, man. It's important to keep yourself level, and like you say, keep yourself in check, and make sure you're doing what's right by you.
Definitely. But and I mean also it's people always go on about mental health and stuff like that. And I've always come across as someone quite solid and quite grounded. And if people are going to think about the Wild Hearts, they're not going to think of me as being like you know, mental and you know, losing it all the time. I've always been like kind of the solid one in the band, and you know, but I've dealt with a lot of heavy stuff over the last couple of years. You know, my dad passed away last year, and you know, both my mum and dad had my dad had dementia, my mum's got dementia, she's very sick and in a home now as well. So you know, it's been back to back with them too, with the dementia, and it's been quite an intense journey. But I deal with my stuff with the people I around me, the people who really love me, and I don't talk quite openly about personal stuff. I mean, a lot of people, they talk about everything online, everything. It's like there's nothing wrong in that, but I'm really private, like really really private. And you know, just because I always appear like happy and quite positive online, it doesn't mean like, you know, everything in my life is like, you know, cushy. You know, I deal with all the problems everyone else deals with. I just don't, you know, shout about it down a megaphone on Twitter or, you know, on social media. It's you know, it's important I deal with it with, you know, my family and my friends, you
Yeah,
know. And I love the fans and stuff like that, but I don't want to burden them with my troubles. It's not, you know, it's not their problem.
no. But do you think that because you know I've been doing and you know we've all dealt with things in our lives, so like, but do you feel like that sort of the sort of aggression and the frustration that you would feel of going through those situations you mentioned with your dad passing away and also your mum not being well, does that feed into your guitar playing and in terms of like the energy and the aggression which you still play, or do you think
Yes,
it's just how you
yeah,
play?
no, 100%. So you listen to Split or um, a lot of my solo stuff over the last sort of you know 5 6 years, it's been getting heavier and more kind of in your face. I mean, you take an album like Siege, which is
Yeah,
really aggressive,
really full
and
on.
that was written during lockdown. You know, a lot of people, I think, you know, most of the world were really frustrated and angry in that period. And you know, I put that frustration into the music, but I still do. There's songs on Split which are dealing with, you know, stuff I've been through in the last couple of years, which have really upset me.
Yeah,
And I put that negative and that you know, energy, passion into my music. I think it's the best place to channel, you know, anger and you know, if you got something that's really pissing you off, to channel that through music. It's a really healthy way to
it's
let
great.
it all out. Yeah, so it's my way of you know, putting my head into a pillow and screaming. Yeah, I just do it, you know, in front of a mic.
Well,
Yeah, and it's great. It's really cathartic, and you're exercising the demon. Yeah,
so where did
brilliant. Man.
where we know while we're talking about emotions, where did the song Mr. Angry come from? Because that is another flavor on
Uh,
it.
Mr. Angry initially started. It's about road rage.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that was the song's about, and it's. Um, I used to be terrible with road rage. Used to be awful with it. Yeah, and you know, I think a lot of people, they get very angry inside their little cars. You know, and that's where the song comes from. Mr. Angry. Yeah, and but. I, I know a lot. There's a few songs on the album dealing with. I mean, there's a song on there called SDE, which stands for Small Dick Energy.
I was going to ask you what that stood for, so I'm glad you
Yeah,
asked.
the arseholes on Twitter.
Oh,
There's
right.
so many people on Twitter who just get angry, and you know, I've got friends like that. They're just they crumble when anyone stands up to them. They're
Yeah.
absolute wimps. But once they're on Twitter, you know, they're like their balls start get bigger, you know, and it's just
Massive
like
keyboard warriors.
it's dick. Yeah, but the term small dick energy is Greta Thunberg um, described Andrew Tate. He said, you know, he's dripping in small dick energy when Andrew Tate was calling her out. Yeah. And I thought that's such a put down because Andrew Tate, you know, I don't know the guy, but when I look at him, he looks like he's got a small dick to me. Yeah.
I don't think anybody's putting he's packing, do we?
But I know lots of people like that, you know. There's nothing wrong with having a small dick, man, but just, you know, just shut up.
Shut up about it. Not trying to make a point.
I'm sick and tired of hearing about it.
That's right. It's the energy of this is it's not small dick, so don't worry. I'm not going to start, you know, accusing you, mate. But you know, it was one like you sent it across, and I was sat at work and I had the office to myself, so I was like, right, that's getting blasted out. Why I do some work, and it's I'll be honest, it's probably not only my favorite solo album of yours. I think it's one of the best albums you've ever done across your career. It's just
Thank you.
such a great energy about it. The songwriting's really good. I'm really glad to hear that you're saying, you're going to do, some live shows with it, because there's certain songs that I definitely want to hear live, like Give the Dog a Bone. And
Oh, I definitely did that one live. Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, yeah, that's great. I mean, there's some when the album was finished and I listened back to it, I was just like, God, I can't wait to play some of these songs live. And it was like one of the things that was just like, I have to go out and play. When uh, I reluctantly go out and play now because of the type of gigs we're doing,
yeah.
but this album makes me want to go out and tread the boards and act like a tit.
That's what we love you doing, though, man.
Yeah.
So did you feel that with, like, say, Siege, when Siege came out? Did that have that same impact on you? Or was it great?
No. Siege was a purely therapeutic album. It was a really intense time, that whole lockdown thing and what was going on in the world, and that changed because the world changed, during the whole COVID and Brexit thing. It was, COVID and Brexit was a double whammy for me, and it was. I felt like a lot had been taken away, and I didn't want those things to happen, but they did, and I needed to vent, and that album was purely about venting. And some of the songs are great live, but I never saw myself playing them live. It was just an angry album. And when you go out, I don't want to be, there are bands who are just always angry, aren't they? And they're always protesting and raging. And it's just like, I never wanted to be in a band like that. I wanted to be in a band which kind of mixed it up a bit. And, ultimately for me, when I see a band, I want them to make me want to jump up and down and dance and have a good time and a sing along,
Yeah.
you know.
There's nothing worse than a dead crowd, that's for sure.
I mean, some bands encourage a dead crowd because they're progressive.
Yeah,
Yeah, they have big musical parts, and there's nothing wrong in that. It'd probably help if you could smoke weed during the gig, but some bands encourage that, and then but that's not what gets me going. It doesn't get my rocks off. I want to go to gigs and be bombast. I want my head done in.
yeah. Wondering how you've been there the following morning when you're like, why have I got bruises?
Yeah, I mean, I don't get them anymore. I'm way too old to get on a pit. But I still want to feel energized when I come out of a gig. Yeah, I want to feel like alive and ready to rock.
Well, one of the first bands I saw post-pandemic was yourselves, was the Wildhearts, when you played Norwich Waterfront. And
Yeah.
it was that weird thing because obviously the Wildheart shows have always been energetic and they've always had that vibe about them. And, there was that thing in the crowd where everybody's kind of going, it's slight post-pandemic. How is everybody? It was the first gig I'd been to. I didn't know how people were going to react during the show. And obviously, if people were still unsure, then that's absolutely their right. And I wouldn't have just grabbed hold of anyone and expected them to be comfortable with it necessarily, like I would once upon a crime. But the moment you guys kicked in, that energy level kicked off. Some bloke threw his arm around me, and I thought, right, okay, we're back.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I know. I mean, it's like, I mean, one of the weird things about the Wild Hearts is even when like I mean, there's been a lot of shows that me and Ginger have gone on stage and we can't even talk to each other. We can't even look at each other. I mean, the relationship's that fractured, but we can still put on a good show, if you know what I mean. It's occasionally people can see through the cracks, but the energy is still there and the passion is still there, and sometimes music kind of you forget about the internal politics, you forget about the backstage dramas. Music can sometimes just transcend that and go over that, and just it's like, yeah, a bunch of dudes making a really good racket. And it's something I really love about rock and punk and dance music as well. I've just been I don't know if you know Chase and Status, drum and bass. Their last, well, the single before the last one, they just had a new one come out, Badadan, a single called Badadan. Fuck me, I love that song.
They're one of the best bands I've seen live.
Yes, yeah. I've just been watching. I've always known of them, but I've never really. When I heard Badadan come on, like about 2 months ago, I was like, "Fuck me, this is so good." And I've just been watching it, like them doing some live sets and stuff, and fuck that song. It
I
makes me
remember,
want to be a drum and bass.
well, I remember them being on at Download Festival just before the Prodigy, and a lot of my mates, or some of my mates who stood with me, they're straight rock and metal. They don't deviate from that. That's what they like, which is fair enough. You know, everyone likes like me. If it sounds good, that's all I fucking give a shit about. But I was stood there and, and they were moaning because it was Chasing Status and it was a dance act. And you're like, they're on before the Prodigy. This is going to work. It's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. And then, you know, 4 or 5 songs into their set, I was looking around and everyone at, you know, Donington was having a great time. And it's
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant live band.
They're really intense, like really intense in the same way like a band like Sepultura were intense when I first saw them. And it's I've never been a musical snob.
No,
And I mean, I like a lot of contemporary pop music and dance music and stuff which is in the charts, like kids listen to, because I listen to Radio 1 a lot, and there's only 2 channels I listen to in the car, and that's Classic FM and Radio 1, which is really bizarre because I'm a punk rock guitarist. But because I spend, you know, it takes me about 4 months to make an album. And that's me working on my own, listening to guitars all the time. And so I need to kind of switch off from guitar music. So that's why I listen to like a contemporary pop channel and to classical music, because it's complete opposite what I'm immersed in most days. Yeah.
do you think that helps your songwriting, escaping from necessarily listening to the point where, obviously, if you were going to go out and listen to, you know, I know you mentioned Sepultura there, so Sepultura or Rancid or whoever, you think that, you know, because you're not listening to that directly, then you don't end up imitating?
It's the reason why I mean, most people who know my music will always say there's a hook in it. It's really melodic. Even when I go intense, there's still a melody there, and it's because I listen to so much pop music. For me, it's all about getting to the chorus as quickly as possible.
You've always
And
had that pop mentality, though, not necessarily in the sound, but like you say, sonically, in terms of
it's
getting
always been,
good choruses, getting to the thing, memorable tracks. People use
yeah,
pop as a derogatory term, and it's not. You know,
not at all, not at all. I mean, there's pop. It's pop because it's popular. It's the most popular music in the world, and you know whether the clever people package it up differently. They wrap it up differently, but it's the same. It's the same science. It's the same approach. It's just wrapped up in a different type of paper. You know, it's not a bubblegum wrapper. It might be wrapped up in leather with studs. You know, but it's still the same approach. It's about getting to that hook and having that hook. You know, and I'd much rather hear a chorus than a solo any day, any day. Yeah. You know that, you know, if I hear a good hook and a great like vocal line, it's just yeah, it's worth its weight in gold. Absolutely.
oh man, you know a good song if you know by the time the chorus comes second time round, you already know it.
Yes, yeah. That's the thing. It's like nothing hasn't been ripped off.
No.
All right. Everyone rips off everyone else, but you know, the way you make people remember something is by giving them something which is really familiar and something they've heard 100 times before, but you just change it slightly. You know, and I rip off everyone. Some of the bands I rip off, but I rip off bands I've heard on Radio 1. So it's like it's a bit. I mean, I'm listening to Badadan now, and I'm going to rip it off. Yeah.
So we're going to get a CJ cover of Banner.
There's a Charlie XCX song I really love as well, which I'm going to rip off. You know, but it's yeah, I'm quite proud about ripping off bands. I mean, because no one, I mean, my scene, most people wouldn't even know what these songs are I'm ripping off. So they're going to go, fuck me, that's really original.
He's done that. But I always remember I went to see Faith No More, and they covered Lady Gaga's Poker Face, and
Right.
there was a guy who was, I don't know how it was really early on in sort of Lady Gaga's career. It was like 2008 or 7 or something. And you could tell he knew, because they completely Faith No More it. They didn't do like a straight copy. You could tell he knew the song, but he didn't know where he knew it from.
Right.
And everybody was kind of going, "Oh, they're covering Poker Face. That's funny. That's typical Faith No More," and enjoying it. And he was sort of singing along because in his head he knew the lyric, but he didn't
Yes.
know where it from. And So he was joining in, and then when it got to the chorus, he realised what song he was singing, and then looked really pissed off.
Oh no, it's a great song. I mean, but I think Cartman, South Park, did the best version. Have you heard his version of it?
It's class, isn't it?
In fact, we actually used that as because I'm a massive South Park fan. The Wild Arts on one tour, we used Cartman's version of Poker Face as our intro tape.
Yeah. So, what are the? I mean, when you were writing Split, going back to your own release there, man, we're talking about the writing process there. But when you were writing Split, was there? You said you had quite a sort of intense writing period because of your temporary accommodation and having only so much time. Was there a particular song that really kicked off that trajectory for you, or was it? Did they all sort of?
Well, the first song I wrote was Butterfingers, a single, and I had in my mind because I originally the Split name was to do with having it 50-50, half hardcore, half pop. So so I had Butterfingers, which is an obvious punky pop song, and then I thought I'd do a heavy song, and I think the next song was All the Dough.
Oh yeah.
Complete opposites. And then I wrote Kick Down the Walls, and then I think I wrote SDE. But then obviously things went wrong with my flat, and it was just like, fuck, I just gonna have to write songs. I haven't got time to like work on these. I'm not gonna have anywhere to work for the whole of the summer. So I just literally picked up my guitar and just whatever came, I recorded on my phone, whatever idea came, and literally I had the last like sort of 6-7 ideas that were just on my phone as they came down. They turned into the album. It wasn't like agonizing over these songs. They had to be the songs on the album, and I've never written like that way. And I think I'm gonna try and write like that, where it's I'm not agonizing over the songs. I'll just pick up the guitar and see what comes.
Did you
And
find that urgency because you had any time sort of made you not, like you say, not to think too much about stuff and go with that kind of raw idea of it?
yeah, I mean, I thought I was going to rip people off, to be honest with you. I just thought I was going to do this like paint by numbers album, but it seems I've seemed to have tapped into something, uh, just don't give a shit. Just pick up the guitar and whatever you fucking come up with, that's it. That's going to be the song. Yeah. It was really bizarre. This like, and the album almost wrote itself. I've never written an album so quickly, yeah, ever. And it's like there's definitely something there. Like I shouldn't spend too much time looking at songs and agonizing over them. And there was a couple of songs I knew it didn't work, and I just left them. I didn't spend any time on them, and just moved on to the next one. But it's this album had a completely different approach, and I've never recorded this way and written this way. And I'm also a fan of this album as well, which I said in a few interviews when I heard it back, because I didn't spend as much time working on the songs. I didn't get sick of them.
That makes sense.
I normally get sick of my songs. I don't ever want to hear them again because I'm working on my own for so long. This album, because it was recorded really quickly, written really quickly, I actually became a fan of this album, which I haven't been a fan of an album I've made in decades. And so it hits differently, this album, in my heart. It hits completely differently. It really means something to me. I don't know why. It just does. Yeah, it really does.
So do you think you're going to take that approach to the next record that you say you're working on?
Yeah. I'm going to approach it with yeah, just be really lazy and not give a shit and don't care, but I won't. See, that's the new rock and roll, not giving a shit. You know what? There's a million and one ways you can cut corners in this business, and I never ever cut corners. I always try and make everything. I don't have much money, I don't earn much money, and I've got to live. This is my bread and butter. But I would never intentionally rip anyone off or put out a shoddy product. The cover, everything is down to the last minute detail has had a care and attention, thrown at it. And you just need to look at like the cover of Split to know that is someone who cares about how he looks and how he wants his product to look as well.
Well, the video you put up as a behind the scenes thing of Butterfingers with, guys helping you out, and
Mm.
you could tell how everyone involved helping you out was probably, as equally as passionate about this coming out. From the guy who was doing your makeup, sorry, I forget his name, but he was
Noah.
Noah.
Noah. Yeah.
Was he 17 or something, wasn't he?
17. Yeah, he's amazing.
Amazing.
Incredible.
And obviously, I've
Yeah.
seen the split face makeup and what Noah achieved with that, and everyone else who was helping you out. You could tell everybody was really behind it, and I think that comes through both obviously from yourself with the music, but overall how it's been, showcased.
I have a great like Alicia and Rachel who filmed a few videos of me. They made my road movie as well, my Kicks road movie. And then there's Wilksy, my artist, who's done my last three covers, done like all my t-shirts, and they're really, really good at what they do. They're really talented, but they're really passionate as well. Like me, they don't earn a lot of money. So, but whatever they do, they want to give it 100% and do the best possible job they can do. You know, as I see it a lot with established artists. There's easy ways of making money. You can cut corners to make money and just go on a cash grab. And I've never worked like that. Like with my best of album, I re-recorded it, half the songs on there, and I remixed everything rather than just stick out a compilation tape and EQ it a bit. I couldn't do that. I couldn't justify it to myself. I can't have people buy the same songs twice just because it's on a best of album. That's just that's you're ripping people off. So everything I do has to have some integrity, and it has to be value for money. I have to make sure I'm not, if I let my small fan base down, I'm letting myself down as well. And how can I talk passionate about anything if I'm cutting corners and ripping people off or just going for a cash grab? It's wrong.
That's what I liked about your best stuff, though, man, was the fact that you re-recorded, because although they were the songs we already knew and loved, it felt like you were bringing them in as almost like another studio album, because you'd recorded them and they had changed slightly because the way you plays changed and the way you wanted to present them had changed, and it just sounded almost like a second, another studio album rather than it being a best of. It was brilliant.
That was intentional to make it sound like a body of music, and also to have Jason Bold playing all the old stuff as well, so he's playing throughout the best of album, and I think it's really exciting when you go back and revisit those really old songs and redo them again. It's great to have a second chance to it's like I'm sure there's many bands out there who'd love to go back and pick some of the older tracks and redo them again.
Yeah. Were there any ones in particular that you really enjoyed redoing?
I enjoyed all of them because the best of album, I picked the tracks and they're all my favorite songs. So there isn't a song in there which isn't my favorite song. They're all my favorite songs, which is great. It's good being a one-man band sometimes. No one to argue with.
Can't argue, Edwin.
Yeah.
You mentioned Jason. Obviously, he's been playing drums for the last few albums and that. I take it was the same setup as been for Siege and for other releases where you've done your programming the drums for the recording process, and Jason's come in and done them all. Yeah, I seem to remember Siege, you've done them in a ridiculously short amount of time. I seem to remember.
Even on this album on Split, I mean it was 3 hours, maybe a bit. Yeah. He's really, really fast. He's never spent more than 4 hours, I think, ever recording any of my albums. Yeah, he's crazy fast, and he's got I'm sure he's got a photographic memory. He doesn't really he has notes, but he just remembers everything.
Yeah.
Like everything. I've never rehearsed with him ever.
No.
Ever. No. He just gets the songs, and he listens to them a few days before he comes into the studio, sometimes the night before.
Wow.
Yeah. It's because my music is really simple and basic. It's like, I'm like the status quo of punk. No, it's he's just one of those you do get a lot of musicians like that who can just hear something and that's it. It's locked. Ben's like that, young Ben Marsden.
Yeah,
He has that. Yeah. about him. You know, he's a very quick learner. Catalyst is like that as well. Chris Catalyst.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They just have this way of. Whereas I'm the complete opposite. I can't do anything without rehearsing or keeping my chops up. It's really important. Yeah.
Some people.
I don't jam. I don't jam.
So the split is out digitally at the moment. When are the physical releases coming through, mate?
Yeah, so I mean, you can get split from Bandcamp and from my online store, and then it will be on all the other streaming sites imminently. But the CD I think arrives next month, early next month, and then they're saying the vinyl's gonna drop probably January, February.
No.
Vinyl's just really hit and miss. You know, it's but I've got I'm actually buying a record deck, a record player, because I don't have one, and just so I can see the split vinyl spinning around. It's so beautiful, the coloured vinyl. I've got. There's an orange version available, but there's another one coming out as well. Another if there's another. I haven't put it up because the orange one's almost sold out now.
Yeah, I've got the orange one on pre-order.
Yeah, it's almost sold out, so I'm bringing out another coloured one. But I'm actually on purpose at Christmas buying myself a record deck. So I don't want to hear it. I just want to see it spin around. Yeah. That's a bit eccentric, isn't it?
It is a little bit, but I don't any more so than people just solidly listening to their own material, I suppose.
I'm just gonna sit and watch it spin around. It's gonna be brilliant. It's gonna be a real event for me. I'm gonna light candles and have a sandwich.
Have a sandwich, chuck some incense on.
Yeah. What are you listening to? I'm not listening to anything. I'm just watching my album spin around.
Just watching it. So what does the rest of the year and into next year hold up for you then, CJ, bud?
Well, I mean, next weekend I'm going to my first gig, like as a punter this year.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to see Vivaldi's Four Seasons. As you do. I wasn't lying. I listen to Classic FM a lot, and I like classical music. So I'm going to see that, and then I'm going to the Canary Islands for a week in about 3 weeks' time. So I always go at winter to Spain for I try and get out there for 7 days because the winter is so bad in Yorkshire. Yeah. And so I'd much rather go to somewhere warm in winter than somewhere warm in summer.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? Yeah. And but the plan is to start recording the next album imminently, and that'll probably drop late spring, early summer next year. Then do some gigs in April, hopefully some festivals, and try and not have to get a day job.
Fair play, man. Fair play. Well, thanks for your time, CJ, man. It's always great to chat to you, dude. At the beginning of the interview, when I hear it on the radio, I'm going to play Kick Down the Walls, as we've spoken about it quite a bit.
Brilliant.
But what song off the album would you like us to play at the end of the interview?
Give the dog a bone.
Yeah. All right, man. We'll lock in. Well, thanks for your time as always, CJ. It's great to chat to you, dude.
Brilliant. All right. You take care, Lee. Brilliant. I'll see you soon, all right?
See you soon, man. Take care.
Okay, man.